All right, so I'm with Barbara Nicolosi Harrington, and she is a very dear friend of mine of 20 years, who also is an extremely prominent Catholic expert on media and screenwriting, and the intersection of popular culture and film and religion. And where she ties in with Radio Titans was that she was one of the brave souls that gave us a chance when we reopened in downtown LA. She and a co-host named Vicki Peterson came and they did a show called Church of the Masses. And they did it for about 3 or 4 months. But I want to still spotlight the show because I'm trying to show that we didn't just do crazy rock and roll and comedy things. We tried to do some more intellectual things too. And there's a couple other Christian shows that I'm going to, spotlight that angle of things. And also, because there's, at least I thought there was a funny contrast or a clash with another show. Turns out Barbara didn't really mind the other show as much, even as much as I did. But Christina Myers Hepburn in another interview has commented about, I told her that she hosted a show called T&A Talk Sex, which was like a modern Dr. Ruth kind of a talk show with 2 women giving advice on relationships and sex. And sometimes the promotions for that, I tried to make sure that they never came anywhere near each other, the 2 shows. But a couple of times we had major boo-boos, and like TNA appeared one time on our sound feed because we used to stream our shows, and an episode of that appeared within seconds of the end of Church of the Masses, setting off some understandably irate listener complaints. And then one other time that I can remember, we had a ticker tape that was promoting shows, and it would say what was on each week. And most shows had it in 12-point font, just scrolling up, and you had to choose to look to notice. And so one time it said, "This week on Church of the Masses, we talk about this." But then right below it, somehow I've never been able to solve what happened, in giant, like 48 or even 60-point font, it said, "This week T&A Talk Sex talks about," and it was something really R-rated. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I think you found out about that also happening, and you understandably let me know that this is not the best way to do business. And so anyway, so I'm trying to ask you about all sorts of things, but that's the setups. So first of all, I guess I'll go out of order and just get with the funnier thing first. What were your thoughts, if you recall, about that going on? I'm not trying to make you look bad or like a fuddy-duddy, but I do think it's an interesting clash of cultural extremes that we had at the station. And that was probably the biggest clash of extremes I could think of that we ever had.
Well, we were talking about problems in media, a lot in our show. And so, it was funny to be, like right in the middle of a problem in media, right there. Suddenly, you've got some gratuitous stuff happening. But honestly, I think what I thought was, this is a broad-based channel, and there's all kinds. And I knew if you had chosen them, Carl, that they had merit in some way. And, it was like, okay, I'm not going to necessarily watch the show, but they're friends of Carl's. They bring something to the table that's good and solid, because I can't imagine you would, have offered.
No, they did have substance to what they were doing, and not every episode was something R-rated. So a lot of them, at least half, were legitimate relationship discussions. So yeah.
Sure. I mean, as an ex-nun, though, it is kind of interesting to, I told my nun friends, please tune in and hear my show, and then I'm like, oh my God, but it, whatever, sometimes those things happen. And, the media landscape is what it is, and everybody gets to have a forum in it. And I'm very much in favor of that. I'm not a cancel culture person at all. I think that, let the audience sort it out for the most part, and so, yeah, that was funny, but in the end, it worked out. It was okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, so tell me, what were you hoping to achieve with what you were doing with Church of the Masses? Like I said, you're an expert at the intersection of faith and culture. So what were you going for with the show? And do you feel that you pulled it off, even if it was just a few weeks?
Well, the problem is in the church that, in the Christian community anyway, we're so hands off as regards contemporary culture and media, and everybody's, in this posture of it's all bad, and, we're the enemy or they're the enemy. And of course, I don't subscribe to that at all. I subscribe to the fact that I think, yeah, there's a lot of problems right now in contemporary media, but there are problems in contemporary everything because of the flight from God and faith in our culture. So, I mean, what's a safe place to be? A hospital? I have a friend who she works in the preemie ward at a Boston hospital. And it's like, yeah, she's like, we saved them on the 5th floor. And then on the 9th floor, they're aborting them, older. And, like, I mean, is that safe? Or I have a friend who's a public defender. She's like, I put them back on the streets, and that's what I do. And I have another friend who's on Capitol Hill. I mean, wow, you really want to be in that mess, of political ambition and everything. So the truth is, there's no safe place right now. The whole culture is trying to decide if it wants to believe in God or not. And, Dostoevsky says in The Brothers Karamazov, if there is no immortality and God, then anything is permissible, right? So what we're seeing is that right now. So anyway, I don't subscribe to the idea that media is particularly worse area of our lives, our culture today than others. I think there's a lot of beauty, and people say to me, "Are you surprised by how bad some of the shows are?" Immoral or gratuitous. And I'm like, no, I'm much more surprised when I see anything beautiful and profound. It's like that's so much more like, where are they getting that? Well, they're getting it in the depths of the human heart, and no matter what they believe, but I think that that my show was an attempt to help, particularly people of faith survive in this moment to which they've been called, right? We were called to live now and to be disciples now. And too many disciples are trying to live like it's, 1823, just kind of shut out and ignore the modern world and, and hope, we put our heads down, maybe it'll all go away. And it's like, no, that's not what we're meant to do. We're meant to watch whatever, is out there, and in a critical vein, at least, to say, okay, what is the value here? Why are people drawn to this? What is it saying? And I think that there's much more powerful, profound work being done on the secular side than on the religious side right now in media, and I think that, you if you're going to find beauty in the media, you can't look in the church right now, I'm mostly embarrassed when I watch, Christian media. So it's like, so my show was basically an attempt to help believers see the value in things that maybe they couldn't see as easily. Also, I have a big thing about supporting artists. I have a lot of friends who are artists. I've spent a lot of years training young artists, helping them make their start. So I would feature on my show a lot of people who are young, people starting up, people beginning, as well as people who are proficient and been at it a long time. But people of faith who are out there doing it, making stuff, with the hope that would inspire other people to throw their hat in the ring. So that's basically what I was going for. And I really enjoyed the show. I learned so much about doing it, and it was a lot of fun. It's just way more time consuming than I thought. And I was holding down a full-time job and being right.
You drove from pretty far too, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, hang on a second. I'm just going to pause.
Anything really funny, but
no, that's okay. Some of it was serious. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't really have anything off the top of my head.
Okay.
But